Welcome to Stories of Hope. I'm Christine Hotchkiss. Each week, I bring you stories that will inspire you, educate you, and give you hope. I want to thank my studio sponsor, the Motivated Mind Group, based out of Chandler, Arizona, your global creative agency. Today, my guest is Victor Jakpor. Victor grew up in a small town called Sapele, which is in Nigeria. The town was known for rubber plantation, timber, and shipping. At the age of 19, he moved to the United States to attend college and graduated with a BS degree in business and finance. As a child, he'd had the benefits of attending schools in Nigeria backed by British colonization. But this is actually also about him being the founder and executive director of the nonprofit organization Mission Africa Project. Their mission is to empower people, transforming communities. Imagine going to school in a dilapidated building without a roof, toilets, or lights, let alone school supplies. I think we take all of these for granted.
That's for sure.
We do.
Yeah.
Picture yourself also hungry and in economic despair with no access to resources that can help you. For many Nigerian communities like Sapele, this is their reality. Please help me welcome my guest, Victor Jakpor. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Christine.
Yes, we've been
it's
trying.
a pleasure. Yeah.
We've been trying to get this together. I'm glad that you are here.
Yes.
You know, we take a lot of things for granted here in the United States.
That's for sure.
Very opinionated, and I can only speak for the United States.
Right.
There are a lot of other countries that are having these same difficulties.
Yeah.
And I want to hear more about what your mission is, because I also understand you had an event this last weekend.
That's right. We have a 5K run and walk this past Saturday, and it was very well attended.
Yes.
You know, and we're very grateful for all the participants that came and walked with us. We are there to raise money for a medical mission that we do yearly into Nigeria. That's coming up this June.
My name is Victor Jakpor, and I'm the founder of Mission Africa. Mission Africa, we empower people to transform community. Today we're in Tumbleweed Park doing a 5K run to raise money for our medical mission that we are doing in June of this year.
The goal for today is to raise money. We're empowering people. We're bringing hope to people. We do medical missions, farming, literacy program, delivering books to the schools in the area. So we have an amazing group of people. This is our second year here. So we appreciate anybody and everybody that have come out to support Mission Africa.
So before we get into that event and talk more about the specifics on this past one, tell me a little bit more about Africa. I mean, we see a lot of beautiful destinations to go to, and you see the pretty things, but we don't ever hear about stuff like this.
Yes. Well, Africa, it's a very big continent. You know, I grew up in a small part of Africa, which is Nigeria, in a little town called Sapele, and that's where my family came from. And it's a small town. You know, it's mostly rubber plantation, timber, plywood, and a lot of shipping. You know. But it's a pretty much well-contained small community whereby people really care about each other at that time and really help each other out, you know. So
when we talk about these conditions I just shared, as far as dilapidated buildings and no education, is this the same environment that you were raised in?
Well, in a way, because I was very lucky, you know, growing up, because at that time we have a lot of missionaries that was establishing schools and hospitals in our area at that time. So most of the schools that we went to at that time was a missionary school. And so because of that, we have a better support from the missionaries, you know, when it comes to the education. And we were so grateful at that time because we know that there's hope, you know, that we can go to university, we can get a better job at the end of the day, and we can able to support our family. And our parents were so excited because they would do anything just to let us to have a good education at that time. And that's what brought me, you know, to the United States, yeah.
Now we talk about education. Obviously, education is a bit different, but I'm sure it's the same basics too.
Yes, yes.
Tell me about the education over there.
The education system is almost like the one here. You know, you have your primary school. We didn't have no pre-K or anything like that, but you have your primary school, you have your secondary school, which is your high school. Then you go to university. So it's the same thing. So after my high school level, which is my secondary school level, that's when I decided that I wanted to come to America to go to university. Because like we said back there, if you can have a good education from overseas, then you can have a better job when you get back to Nigeria. You know, so that was one of the reasons that I came to the United States, yeah. Yeah.
So when you talk about the education and universities, are there universities over there?
Oh yes, there's lots of universities, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at that time, you know, I won't say there was a lot, but there was quite few of them, you know, and they were government universities. And so the difference between going to university in Nigeria and going to university in the US or London is that you come back, people value you more, that you have a higher education from overseas compared to being in the country, within the country. So you have a better opportunity to
So
get
anyone
into.
who's watching this, did you just hear what he said? He's valued for coming overseas to get an
Right, to get
education.
education, yeah.
So we
Yeah.
need to take our education a little bit more seriously and not
Yes.
so laxed on that.
Yes.
That is really neat to
Yeah.
hear. That is not something I think the Americans would say we would agree, because we
Sure.
don't know what type of education is going on in other countries.
Right,
That's why I said
right.
earlier, we're spoiled. We are too opinionated, if you ask me, at times. And it's good to have people such as yourself and others who come to our country who want to better their
Sure.
lives, going through the
Exactly.
education, getting the jobs. And yes, some people will say, well, we're sending our money elsewhere. Well, there's a lot of things that are going on that are here
Right.
in our own country that money's going
Right.
elsewhere. So it's really not about that. Truly, I feel that everyone should have the opportunity to be successful, which brought you to the States to go to
Yes,
school.
To go to school, yeah.
So
yeah.
when you talk about the schools, tell us more about the schools there, and then we'll talk about your education and how you got started on this nonprofit.
After coming here, because when I decided to come to university in America, my dad at that time, you know, he was a rubber merchant, so he said, I'm going to be able to afford to send you to America, but when you get there, you have to find your way to support yourself to get the education you need. But then I said, okay, that's fine. That's why you get me there. I'll do anything just to survive, to get the education that I need. But after 6 months after I got here, he passed away. So things just changed. You know, I wasn't looking forward after that to going back to Nigeria. So after I've completed my education, I decided to stay, you know, and one thing led to the other. I got married, got children, started living the American dreams here. never thinking of going back home anymore after that, you know, until something else happened that made me to go back, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about your dad.
Yeah.
I'm a stickler about names. What is your
Yeah.
dad's name?
David
Thank
Jakpor,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He, you said 6 months after you came
After
here?
I came to the U.S.,
That's a very
yeah.
short time.
Yeah, it's a very short time.
And here I'm thinking, you're coming to a country you know nothing.
Right.
I'm also going to assume you had to learn the language.
In Nigeria, we have tribal languages, but English is a compromise because we have over 250 different dialects. So a lot of times when you are talking to people, you are trying to speak broken English with them. So when you start education back home, they start teaching you English. You know, so that's how so it makes it a little bit more easier for us when we come to the U.S. to be able to adjust to the system, the language, yeah, a little bit better compared to other people, yeah.
So is the school system the same as for like Monday through Friday?
Same thing, Monday
Same
through Friday
structure?
from 8 o'clock to about 2 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty much, because we are pretty much set up like the British education, because we were colonized by the British, so most of our education system is almost like the British system. So it's pretty much the same, yeah.
So when you came here for education, what was the education you were seeking?
I wanted to get a business degree. My dad has a rubber factory back in Nigeria, and I wanted to go back to work with him, yeah, in this rubber factory, you know. So they said, well, to get a good business degree, you have to get either accounting or finance. So I said, well, I'm going to get a finance or accounting degree to go back and help my father. So when he passed away, so I thought that hope is gone, so I have to start all over again here in the U.S., yeah.
And then you did not go back.
No, I didn't, yeah.
Because you found and established something here that was much greater?
Well, yes, after being here for quite some time, you start enjoying the lifestyle.
Did you hear that? He said, enjoying the lifestyle, no more complaining.
Start talking about the American dreams, the picket fence and, cars and everything. So you say, hey, I started working for a company after I graduated, became a manager for Walmart. And after that, I was pursuing the American dream. So that was just because that's the only way I felt that I could really help my family back home. Yeah.
So moving forward, the resources, we mentioned in here, the resources, there are no resources. So where were you as children, or even the children today, getting the books or getting anything that they need to go to school?
Right, yeah. The challenge there, when I came, our parents tried very hard to support the children, and at that time, there's still some type of normalcy when it comes to employment at that time, the community I grew up, not until I went back when my mom passed away in 2004, that when I got back to the village, where I came from, I realized that most of the children there, they can't afford to go to school anymore because, number one, their parents have no job, Most of the industries that was in the community are already gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there was really difficulty. So most of the kids, the parents now have to employ them to go on the street to sell things for them instead of them going to school.
Okay, so I have to ask, because you mentioned something about the finances to go to school.
Yeah.
They have to pay to go to school?
Well, they have to, just a basic...
Or are you talking about the higher education, like
No,
college?
no, just regular primary school. Primary, secondary.
Primary school?
Right, they have to buy their books, they have to buy their uniform, they have to pay for any type of exams and different basic things that they need. Yeah.
All right, America, look at that.
And that could be very costly for people that doesn't really have much income. To support themselves, So
education is a privilege, even though we have some people that don't think it is.
It is a privilege, yeah. It's because that's the only way most people see themselves to get out of extreme poverty there.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just educated me big time. I had no idea that we would have to pay for education. So the government, like us here, pays for certain programs. The government does not do that
The
there?
government supports the teachers.
Okay.
Yeah, and the school, but sometimes they have a limited budget when it comes to maintaining the schools. So even sometimes the teachers, they have to have they don't get paid for 2-3 months before they get paid. So sometimes the limited budget from the government makes it very difficult for the overall education system there. Yeah. So when I was back there. My aunt, who was a principal at elementary school, said, Victor, I say, hey, you're in America, how can you come? Can't you help us here in our community?
Yes.
At that time, I didn't think it's something that I can do myself because I'm trying to live my life here. I wasn't thinking of going back there to help anybody, but at the same time.
That's saying you're only going to help yourself.
Right, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So, but that the needs are there, the kids needs help.
Right.
So I came back not thinking about even trying to help them until about a couple years down the line, about 2006, that in a conference, in an UNGA conference, one of the questions they ask you there is, they said, if time or money is not an issue, what will you do? And I said, I thought about it, a little bit hard, I said, okay, so then I wrote it down, said I will go back and help those children back home because I know that that's the only hope they have when it comes to having a better life. At that time I didn't know what I can do about it, but I just said that's what I would do if time or money is not an issue. So during that period, there are other people, about 3 other people who was in the conference also said they want to help in Africa. So the host in the conference brought those 3 people to me and said, hey, Victor, this other people wants to help in Africa. Maybe you guys can come together and see what you guys can do. So I said, oh, I just wrote it down. I didn't say I'm going to do anything about it.
When you said you wrote it down, where were you writing it down?
As in the conference,
in the conference.
Yeah, in the conference.
Oh, it was your answer to
the
question.
The answer to the question.
Okay.
They said,
make sure I follow.
right,
Okay.
they said you have to write something down. So I wrote it down, and at that time I don't think I was ready to do any type of helping.
It's scary to think that you want to do that.
To do that, exactly. So with that, we came together with my church help, Mountain View Lutheran Church in Utuki. We decided to go back to Nigeria to do an exploratory discovering trip just to see what can we do to help the children back there. And that's where we started, A year later on, we started Mission Africa. Yeah. So.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All the things that we take for granted here, our education is one of them.
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
and like you clarified, it's not the education of college that most people think it costs so much, which it does.
Right, yeah.
But just basic
Primary,
principles of education.
secondary, yeah. It's very expensive.
So
it can be expensive, yeah.
How many other siblings do you have, if at all?
I come from a family of about 30 children.
Of what?
30 children.
How many?
30.
I'm confused. 30 children.
My father has 30 children.
Okay, we're going to stop there. Now I can see why it's expensive to go to school. That's a different topic. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So when you left to come to get education, now you talked about the mission of
Right.
the school. When did you actually found Mission Africa?
Well, 2007, after we went back to Nigeria in 2006 and just kind of checked to see what can we do to make the difference,
Okay.
We came back, it was very overwhelming. There's so much needs in the community. There's no job in the community. Kids barely go to school. A lot of problem with drinking water, different challenges. So we came back, we weren't sure what we want to do. But we said, well, let's start with the school. So we said, well, we have kids that have no textbook to study. So we said, why don't we start with raising money to supply textbook to kids in primary school? So that's where we started from.
So tell me what the textbook would be there versus what I know is here.
Well, it's really basic textbook for math, English, reading, science.
Is there history?
Yes, there's social science. Social science, yeah. So they are required to buy their textbooks, every semester, every year. Yeah, so the students are required to buy, and a lot of times, over 50% of the kids, their parents can afford to.
50, like 50.
50, yeah.
How much does it cost for books?
About $25 a set to get a set, like about five. Yeah,
for a set of books.
For a set of books,
How
like
many are in a set?
5 sets
Wow.
of books. Yeah. So with that, it can be very expensive when you look at it
Over there.
Over there, yeah.
Here, $25 is, you can't even, you can go out to eat for one person.
For one person, exactly, yeah, exactly, these days, yeah. So that's where we started with, we said, let's supply textbooks to the kids so that at least they have the tools they need to be able to study. Then the second thing we started with was trying to give them to bring clean water to the school also. So we started digging borehole in the school to supply clean water for the kids, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because those are things I didn't realize that a lot of times when we were growing up, a lot of the schools doesn't have clean water, but then going back, looking at where they were going to school, you find out that most kids, they really don't have no clean water. So
I can only imagine then there's probably health issues.
Oh, big time, yeah. There's a lot of that. That's another issue entirely when it comes to health issues among young people, yeah. So those are things that we are trying to address also to make sure that good maternal care and different things like that is taken care of in the community.
So you had this Footsteps of Faith walk this last weekend.
Yes, yeah.
How much, you don't have to say how much you raised, but did it raise enough to where you met a goal that you wanted to reach for this particular event?
I think we are still working on to raise more money because basically we have a team of about 15 medical personnel going with us to Nigeria to do surgery, Yeah, so we were there last year. We did over 80 surgeries. This year we are planning to do about 200 surgeries. Basic surgery. Just simple surgeries, not major ones.
Okay.
So basically what we do with the money is, number one, is for medicine, because the surgeries we need medicine for.
What kind of surgery?
Mostly hernia surgery, lumps, bumps,
Okay.
different things that protrude from the skin.
Okay.
This year we're going to take a gynecologist with us, whereby we'll do some women surgery stuff like that. So we did raise enough money to buy medicine, but it takes a lot more because we're taking about over 15 people with us this year to do the surgery. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Wow. I keep thinking about how we are here and people get surgeries that aren't necessary and cost a lot of money,
right.
But to each their own, for sure.
Sure.
To go back on the education real quickly, you already mentioned how many students, how much it costs to get an education. What are the types of jobs there should they go through the education that are offered in your community?
Well, a lot at this time, especially in my area, there is mostly the basic, the teaching, the nursing, working for the government, clerical work, different things like that. So right now, there's very few industry in the area right now. So that's another issue there when it comes to bringing good employment into that area. So one of the things we try to do is also teach some skills when it comes to sewing for, women. A lot of women does a lot of trading in the market also too. So trying to encourage them to do more business like that. Yeah.
As a trade?
As a trade, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
now, how many years is there for the education? Is it 12 like here?
yeah, it's 12 like here also, yeah. Before you go to your university, yeah.
And how many people, how many students actually finish the 12 years? The percentage maybe?
Yeah, the percentage. A lot of them finish primary elementary school. The secondary school is which is the high school. That's where it gets really difficult, because a lot of times, if the family doesn't have good financial support, a lot of times they either they will late, especially women, they can easily let them to go have their own job, or they get married, different things like that. Yeah. So secondary school. Maybe about 50% of them doesn't proceed, even more than 50% doesn't proceed more than secondary school. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So encouraging more education is very important. Yeah.
Well, and it is here too. I don't think people really realize how important, and now I'm hearing that it's even more valued outside of the States than it is here. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Before I ask my final question, is there anything that you want to share about your organization that I didn't ask?
Well, Mission Africa is a 501c3 organization, and basically we work to help to empower those communities in Nigeria, in Sapele especially, making sure that children has the tools that they need for better education, and also the community making sure they have good, clean water. And also medical health. Those are things that we try to help, the basic things that we create a better life.
That everyone deserves, no matter where they're living.
Exactly.
And throughout this program, your information is provided for people to reach out to the website. That if anyone has any questions, they can reach you.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So many things we take for granted. I love doing what I'm doing because it keeps me very grounded and grateful, because we all have something that we go through in our lives, and I will say I will keep taking my cards back and be grateful for those that I meet along my path.
Yes. So. And the same thing for me too. Being grateful is so important, because I think why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I'm grateful for God for bringing me to this country to experience the life I'm experiencing here. So one way of contributing to the community back home is to be grateful for what God has done. Yeah.
I love that you wrote it down, and we've heard that phrase, if money wasn't an issue, what would you do? And you took and Went right straight to it.
It's about making a difference in African
Congratulations
community.
on that one.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So there's that
Yeah.
one for you. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to,
Yeah.
but think about it. So I do have one final question.
Okay.
And this is absolutely has nothing to do with this organization of yours, which is a great one, by the way. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, thank you.
If I only had one question to ask an individual to get an idea of who they are or what I think they're about, it would be this question. What message would you like to leave everyone based on your journey of life?
To be a giver. Like somebody said, life gives to the giver. So the more you can, sometimes it's very difficult to be a giver, but the more you do it, the more you have the more momentum in giving, and your life will change drastically.
Some people might say, but I have nothing to give. What would you say to that?
It's so simple. Just opening a door for somebody, that's been a giver.
Something so basic.
Something so big. Just smiling to other people. Mm-hmm. That's a big give. You never know what somebody's going through in their life.
There's a gift in giving.
There's a gift in giving. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that message. The gift of giving.
Yes.
Doesn't have to cost anything.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
Something so simple as opening a door and letting someone else.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you very much, Kristen.
I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about Mission Africa.
Yes, and before we actually close, you had mentioned in the beginning here that you had another event that's coming up in June. You want to share that real fast?
Yes, that's our medical mission to Nigeria. We are taking about 20 people, 15 medical personnel, and some other support staff to go to Nigeria.
And that's the one you were just mentioning
a few minutes ago?
That's the one I was just
mentioning,
mentioning,
yeah.
And that's in June?
That's in June, yeah. Yeah. So, and we're still, raising more money for the medicine and also for logistic and security and stuff like that, yeah. Perfect. So, visit our website, missionafricaproject.org, and see what we're doing in Nigeria, and see if you can help us to make a difference, make an impact in those communities.
Making a difference and giving hope.
Yeah.
I love those both. Thank you again. If you have a story you want to share, know someone who has a story to inspire someone else on their journey to give them hope, please email me to the address of stories@christinehotchkiss.com. And if you'd like to be a sponsor, please also email me to the address of stories@christinehotchkiss.com. I also want to thank my studio sponsor, the Motivated Mind Group, your global creative agency based right here in downtown Chandler. Until next time, everyone, I wish you well, and you take care.